Hello, I'm Michael Feely, and welcome to my channel, The Secrets of Da Vinci. Now, the reason for that particular name will become quite clear shortly. What is the purpose of this channel? The purpose of this channel is to teach you and go to depths and levels that are seldom gone. Certainly levels that you will not find in the mainstream or through various truth groups. It will take you extremely deep into the world of the esoteric teachings. It will be a weekly show, and it will enable you to have access to group chat so that we can all answer questions about what I've taught, what I've said. And I hope that you enjoy the new levels of teaching. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, I was born in the West Midlands in the UK, and I was born to a full-time mom and a full-time working father. It was just a normal council estate, nothing particularly special. But the road names were all named after scientists, such as Newton, Isaac Newton, Faraday, Stevenson, etc., which I later found out was quite appropriate too. My schooling was very, very standard schooling. I never really could fit in with the ways of the world. I never felt a part of the world. I always wished to get home and retreat to the solitude of my bedroom, where I was happiest. I could think, I could consider the world, I could consider my place in that world, and I never felt really connected to anything outside. When I look back at some of my school reports written by teachers at the time, although in not so many harsh words, they were describing a substandard child who never engaged in class activities, who would never ask any questions. He would always try and sit there in silence and deal with things himself. So that was me. I always felt I'd been dropped off at the wrong planet, that I didn't belong here. Even at the age of 6 and 7, I would have adult conversations with myself, watching such movies as The Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston, when he played this character, Moses. And I would ask myself, could this really happen? Did it really happen? Did this man Moses really exist? Or is there something deeper to the actual story? Now, at the age of 6 and 7, this is not really a normal conversation that children would have with themselves. Eventually, I achieved a career that I always wanted to do. And that career was in the police force. And I was a patrol officer dealing with all levels of calls, from non-emergency to emergency calls. And any given day was unpredictable. You could literally go from someone who'd stolen something from a shop, and your next call could be a multiple homicide. It really was completely unpredictable. But what it taught me was the art of investigation. It taught me to be able to go to a scene and let the evidence speak. Because sometimes eyewitnesses weren't particularly factually correct. Sometimes they could tell you things that hadn't happened, but the evidence always pointed in the right direction. And I learned how to find that evidence, how to piece it together to make a correct picture, and then how to present that evidence in a courtroom in a succinct way, just giving the salient points which was required in the court system. So it gave me a lot of skills which I would use in later life for the kind of things that I'm doing now. So I signed up for a 30-year career. But in year 17, or leading up to year 17, I began to have a lot of personal out of this world experiences. I would see, both on duty as a police officer and off duty as a police officer, I would see multiple UFOs. I would see them coming out of wormholes and portals in the sky. I would see them overhead in the middle of the day in the town that I live, massive cigar-shaped UFOs. I would walk through dense forestry at night and see portals opening up amongst the trees. I would go to an event, and on one particular occasion, I actually stood next to a being not of this world. His eyes were completely black, and all of his skin was pulled tight over his face, so you could see all of his bones. And the energy that he gave off was not particularly a nice energy. So there was so many experiences that completely changed my world, completely changed my life. And I was never the same person again. I could never be the same person again. I could never see this world through the same eyes that I had previously. And I was having these experiences literally every day and every night. It would involve remote viewing, time travel. I would go to a particular place that in our time was 159 years previous. And I was having all of these experiences that I couldn't explain at the time, but I knew them to be real because I was seeing them, I was feeling them every day. What I didn't realize at the time is that I was being guided and primed for a future time by certain individuals who once incarnated on Earth. Two of the individuals that I've been able to identify, although there are more who at the moment have not yet been able to identify who they are, but two of the ones who I have been able to identify is Isaac Newton and Nikola Tesla. And both of them are part of a scientific team that were priming me until a particular individual could step in and take on my teaching and take on my initiation from that point. Now, that person who was to step in and who now has stepped in is Leonardo da Vinci. And this is why I'm calling this podcast The Secrets of Da Vinci, because I have a personal connection to him. Now, the question that I always ask is, if Leonardo could speak to the world today, what would he say? I will tell you exactly what he would say and what he has said in just a moment. But he gives me quantum equations. He gives me science that takes the mainstream earthly science to new dimensions. Such equations are the cure for all diseases known to man. It is equations that deal with free energy systems, how UFOs fly, how they are able to create zero distance, zero displacement, how we are able to create portals, and so on and so on. And I have all of these equations that just come into my head, which I then write down and I then learn and I decipher what they actually mean. And it really will take humankind to a different level. So I continue to work through or with Leonardo da Vinci, Nikola Tesla, and Isaac Newton. Now, many people would have heard what I've just said, and some of them will now switch off because they believe that I'm some kind of Fruit Loop who's lost the plot. But for those who are serious, they will soon realize when I begin to give you some of the secrets that I have been taught that I'm not a Fruit Loop, and I'm actually talking from a place that is genuine and integral. And for those who continue to watch, you will go to levels that no one else has ever taken you. So I hope you that you continue to watch each week as I take you deeper and deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, as I store the knowledge of three of the greatest minds to ever have incarnated in this world. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read from my latest book, The Movement, Illumination of the World, a foreword that was actually written by Leonardo da Vinci himself. Let me read this to you. Leonardo has made many contributions throughout this book. It is almost a personal book of his. I will tell you just after that who I was in a previous lifetime and why I still have a connection to Leonardo da Vinci. So Leonardo says in his foreword, "For as long as humankind has been on this planet, their life and times have recorded visitations from other planets that have happened for many thousands of years. This truth also recorded in pictorial form on the walls of monuments to be found around the planet, men and women have been born throughout time to bring knowledge to the people, which would further their quality of life. Nikola Tesla, for instance, bringing what is essentially free energy, which would remove all poverty from the world. It was man who prevented the plan for greed. These men do not have understanding of love or life. Empathy is unknown to them. We watch from our world as yet again living man imprison each other as less and less they think for themselves, thus condemning any future move forward to free each other from the few and live in peace and harmony. There are those who know of our presence and do not share the knowledge we bring. I, Leonardo, have been such a messenger. Many were hidden truths of what could be and what existed in the plans for the helicopter, for instance, and the great ability of the human body to use the built-in antenna to the world, the pineal gland. Other planets have had this knowledge for thousands plus years. There are many communities on other planets. There are many planets. Yet the primitive human allows itself to believe only planet Earth sustains life. A moment's thought would show that it is illogical to think that of all the many planets, only one could sustain life, as you know it. The lives on these planets have technology the people of Earth could only dream of. Throughout the history of planet Earth and its primitive violent nature, conquerors have tried to take dominion of others. They will never achieve this in the long term. They never have. This time shall be no different. We watch you choose to suffer and die, rather than think for yourselves. Humanity must choose freedom, refusing the indoctrination of those who hold you under their control. Look back to see how times of old created the vast monuments around the world, showing the intelligence which created and taught mankind how to create them and use the electromagnetic field of your planet. Totally free for man to create a better world in freedom, to create a world where man would eventually be welcomed into the Galactic Council of Planets. Your planet provides everything for bodily sustenance and good health, yet you give your lives into the hands of those without love, the greatest, most powerful part of humanity. You allow fear to dictate your beliefs. Until man breaks away from this, change for your betterment and understanding can never happen. The devils and demons are living humans lacking love and empathy, putting fear in your hearts, where love should reside. The interplanetary world awaits your realization that you have great ability built into your body and mind. Let go the chains that bind you in fear. The truth is there to see. Ancient monuments clearly depicting spaceships descending on Earth and bringing the species who come amongst us to gauge the human condition. And whether you are ready to move forward, but no, you are still making every move to kill each other, and allow those without love to condition humanity to untruth and actions outside of their nature. Soon you will see as those who control you for their own greed expose their behavior because they believe they have dominance over you. In 2012, we created a higher human consciousness for mankind. As you reach to embrace it, realization comes, and you will reach for the freedom from bondage that you have allowed yourself to embrace. A better world awaits. You're moving away from slavery. All I speak of is there for you to see, in ancient monuments, in the messages we send for you even now, in your fields of hay crop circles, which the people able to think will learn how to read. The Nazca lines, which can be read once you learn how to read them. Many layers exist in them. Soon man will be able to read and understand, as there are those channeling information from us to help you move forward. We are watching. We are ready to embrace enlightened souls. I am Leonardo da Vinci. At the beginning, I posed a question. If Leonardo could speak to the world now, what would he say? That's exactly what he has said. He's speaking to the world now through me. Why through me? Because in a previous incarnation in medieval times, I was Salai, Sal. And Sal was one of Leonardo's students and personal scribe. We went to the likes of the Great Pyramid together. All of Leonardo's secret teachings were dictated to me by him. I was to write them down. When you look at Leonardo's private notes, such as Codex Atlanterius, it was me who wrote those notes on Leonardo's behalf. So what does Sal look like? Who is Sal? That is Sal. And that is me in a previous life. I now work with Leonardo da Vinci to continue his work, continue where he left off. So now I'm just going to show you just a few secrets, just to lay the foundation and to lay the ground for future podcasts, when I shall go into these subjects in much greater detail. I'm just going to use my whiteboards in which I put some illustrations on there. Once I've finished with the whiteboards, I will let you into just a few of the secrets into Leonardo's famous paintings. Of course, Leonardo is known as an artist, but his first love is really science. It is invention. And I will get into that very soon. So let me deal with the Bible. So in the Bible, in the beginning, we have Adam and Eve. I'm now going to demonstrate and show to you how Adam and Eve is really the hexagram, which is also the Masonic compass and square. So we have AV, which is really Adam and Eve. Now Adam, the A, if we remove the rib, as the Bible says, it is really removing the sailor, which means beam. So if we remove the rib of Adam, we can create life, vivus, Eve. But the upside down A indicates man's fallen state. Adam and Eve is really the hexagram, which gives us, as I said, the Masonic compass. Now in Hebrew, we have the word Bereshith, which means in the beginning, he created the six. He created the hexagram. Creation is really sacred geometry. The universe is pattern in motion. It is not matter, it is not stuff, as science says. Everything is geometry and a pattern in motion. And when that motion ceases, we get the geometry in the likes of crop circles, in snowflakes, in cathedrals and churches. So in the beginning, he created the six. Now, in the 6 days of creation, there are 144 hours. 144 is a light code that I will speak about in future episodes. I have found the 144 light code throughout the ancient world, in the Sphinx of Egypt, in John the Baptist, in space travel. All of these things I will reveal to you in due course. So moving on from the hexagram and the Masonic compass. Now inside the Masonic compass, you have this letter G that we are told means God or geometry. It doesn't. It relates to the number 7 because the G is the 7th letter of the English alphabet. Now the number 7 is the gamut, which basically means the range of human. Now when we go beyond 7, number 8 for instance, we then get into the realm of what is holy. But 7 is the maximum range of human. Now when we look at the Star of David, as I mentioned as an hexagram, we see that there are 7 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the center is number 7. Exactly in the center where we have the letter G. G is the 7 of the Star of David. Now, the human head, Golgotha, the place of skulls, the Temple of Solomon, and so on, also relates to 7 because we have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils and 1 mouth, which gives us 7. Now the head is where we get the light to become enlightened. And that is why it is important in Masonry. Again, sticking with the Bible and another theme of esoteria. The 5 loaves and the 2 fishes. The 5 loaves relates to the 5 books of the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. Moses means initiate. And what you will realize in the coming weeks is that all of the mystery school teachings, all of the religious books, all of the temples and monuments of the world are relating to secret code and initiation. Because the Bible, for instance, is really a manuscript of initiation. So the 5 loaves of the Bible are the 5 books of the Torah. Torah gives us bull god, which is Osiris Apis, Osiris of Egypt. And the 2 fishes are the Nevi'im, which are the prophets. Now the 12 baskets relate to the 12 tribes of Israel, which relate to the 12 signs of the zodiac. So what I did is I got all of those numbers and I did 5 times 2 times 12 gives us 120. I won't discuss that now, but 120 is significant in its own right. Now we are told that Christ fed 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fishes. So if I go 5,000 times 120, it gives me 600,000. Now 600,000 are the letters in black and white of the Torah. That's how many letters there are in the Torah, if we count the black letters and the white spaces in between them. It is also the amount of Jewish souls. Now the square root of 5,000 is 70.7. Now in mathematics, if we remove that decimal point, we get 707. This has a numerical value of annuit coptis. Now that is a Latin phrase that you find in the Great Seal of America. So on just one whiteboard, I've now connected the Bible to the Kabbalah to Freemasonry in the Great Seal. Numerics are also important, the same as geometry. So here you can see that we have the Vesica Piscis, which is really the source of all form. In other words, geometric creation. Now inside, we have the triangle. Now the triangle is mathematical pi, 180 degrees. And we also have a unit measurement of 153. Now in Greek Demetria, the numerical value of words, 153 is Mary Magdalene. And Mary Magdalene Day is on the 22nd of July, which gives us 22/7, which is pi. So the Vesica Piscis, the source of geometric creation, contains Mary Magdalene, and it contains the first form, which is the triangle. It is the firstborn shape. It is also the firstborn of Egypt. Now also inside the Vesica Piscis, we have the Christian fish. The fish is really the individual awareness out of the universal ocean. We separate from that universal ocean to become an individual consciousness. And that is symbolized by both the fish and the triangle. The triangle, of course, is the Trinity. Now I've connected the 4 faces of the Great Pyramid, which are really 4 triangles. 4 times 180 is 720, which is also the numerical value of the Vesica Piscis, which is 2 circles, 360 plus 360. So the Great Pyramid is the Eden essence. It is the Mary Magdalene. It is the wisdom. It is the Sophia. It is the secret teachings conveyed by symbols. As you'll see in other podcasts, the Great Pyramid numerically hides mathematically Christ and Mary Magdalene. So the Great Pyramid is actually the tomb of both Christ and Mary Magdalene. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to reveal just a few teachings in Leonardo's paintings. Leonardo and I evaded the Vatican hit squads. The Vatican Church actually sent people to kill us, particularly Leonardo, because of what he knew. And he was able to evade such death by hiding what he knew into the likes of his paintings. Now, for argument's sake, if you look at The Last Supper, I will have to take a podcast in itself just to analyse each aspect of the Great Supper painting. But if anyone from the clergy was to look at that, they would see the authorised version of that time. They would see a religious scene of scripture. And even though Leonardo was commissioned by the church to do many paintings, he made sure that he encrypted mockery of the church within those paintings that even the church themselves did not realise. So let me take you to The Last Supper. Now I'm using a laser pen just to point out a few things. So normally these secret teachings are taught beyond windowless walls. In other words, out of public gaze, in secret. But you will see that Leonardo has put windows in his walls. Therefore, he's allowing you access into these secret happenings. He's revealing to you what happens in these secret places. Now, we have an organisation that a lot of people have disputed its existence, which is the Priory of Sion. The Priory of Sion is actually an allegory for Aries. Aries is the higher mind. It is the Lamb of God. It is the lamb that the Good Shepherd carries. Now, Aries is symbolized by the index finger that you can see on this image of John the Baptist. So that is Aries, that is the higher mind. Now, as part of the election of a Grand Master of the Priory of Sion, there are 13 members called the 13 Ark of the Rose Cross. Now, between their ranks, they elect a Grand Master, and whoever gets the most votes becomes the Grand Master. Here we see those 13 people. And the Grand Master, the elected Grand Master, is in the centre, which is depicted by the Christ. So, those 12 have voted in him as the Grand Master of the Priory of Sion, the Lamb of God, Aries. Now, when you look how the room is set up in the election of a Grand Master, their backs face the west, their fronts face the east, they have a table in front of them, and then they have an altar in front of the table. We can see, because this is actually based in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid, that the backs are west, their fronts are east, there is a table, and there is an altar in front of them. That is the scene of the election of a Grand Master of the Priory of Sion. Now, when we start talking about bread, bread is really the seed and the grain of knowledge. Now, when we break bread, we are spreading that seed of knowledge, because the word Christ means grain. Now, when you look at the Egyptian god Osiris, which means open eye, third eye, his sarcophagus has grain growing. So we have this grain of knowledge that we have to split and spread across the world. Now, on Leonardo's painting, the bread is unbroken. So in other words, it is secret knowledge retained for the few. Next to the unbroken bread, we have an empty plate, which is telling us that they are ready for receipt of that secret knowledge. Their plate is empty. They are able to accept and receive that information. When we look at many of the hand gestures, here we see a hand gesture, which means master elect. So he is telling you that they are electing a Grand Master. When we see the hand symbols of Christ, it relates to the Morono symbol, which means a fake Jew. So again, Leonardo is telling you that the Jesus story is not correct. The Bible speaks of the beloved disciple of Christ named John. And because this disciple looks very feminine, people have said it must be Mary Magdalene. But the official version of that is that it's actually the disciple John, the most beloved. In mystical circles, often one name hides the identity of two people. So John is actually Mary Magdalene and Lazarus. Lazarus is Osiris, and Mary Magdalene, as I have said, is the wisdom within the Vesica Piscis. So that one person, John, hides two people. Now we can tell which one is being referred to by the position that they are sitting in. So because that character is facing away from Christ, it is referring to Lazarus. However, when you use the mirror technique that Leonardo da Vinci uses, you'll see that the character leans towards Christ, which is Mary Magdalene. So it is two people hidden under one name, John. So the Last Supper is really depicted as stated. It is not a scene of Christ and the disciples. It is a secret message about the higher mind. Because the likes of Leonardo da Vinci and the Knights Templars and a lot of these secret societies see John the Baptist as the Messiah, not Christ. And you will realize that Christ was never an individual person. And again, I will go into much detail about that in future episodes. So now I'm just going to briefly take stock of Vitruvian Man. What does Vitruvian Man mean? Again, there are far too many meanings just to cover in this one episode, so I will take future episodes to teach you about Vitruvian Man. But in essence, we see that Vitruvian Man's arms are too long. And that was deliberate, because what Leonardo is telling us is that we must stretch ourselves beyond our comfort zone. We must stretch ourselves beyond our normal limit. Now, the arms and the legs, if you imagine the wings of an aeroplane and you are flying in and the wings of the aeroplane are changing direction, what Leonardo was telling us is that we will change direction many times in life before we reach and become the finished article. So the moving arms and the moving legs are like the moving wings of an aeroplane, where we completely to change directions. Now, when I did the mathematics of the circle and the square, I again got the 144 light code that I was speaking of. So Vitruvian Man is really telling us about life. It is telling us how to become a better person. It is telling us how to evolve into the perfect article. Again, I will come back to all of these things in future episodes. So this one, Bacchus. Bacchus was a later name. It was originally called John the Baptist. Now, what is pinnacle here is that the fingers are pointing in certain directions. So we have this hand, this finger, that is pointing towards the staff. Now, you also see a finger holding onto the staff that is pointing towards the earth, towards the ground. That is John the Baptist's staff, which is one of the pillars of Freemasonry. Now we see that Bacchus, the god of wine, wine gives us divina, which gives us divinity. So we have pointing towards the staff of John the Baptist, which is pointing down towards the earth. In other words, it is drawing your attention to what is hidden, to the hidden secrets. Now you can also see that the big toe is also pointing in a certain direction. And this is telling us the direction that we need to take in order to achieve our aims and goals. Now we'll move on to Salvador Mundi. There is much speculation about the clear sphere and what it means. So let me first of all address that. There is much talk of darkness and ignorance. And when people are uninitiated, they are called the profane. Profane comes from profanum, which means before the temple. So in other words, before you are initiated into the secret teachings, you are in the dark, you are in ignorance. And that is often called the darkness retreat. Now, when you step out of that darkness retreat into the light, you begin to have a clear vision of the symbols, the meanings of reality, the meanings of life, the meaning of creation. And that is why we have a clear sphere. It is the clear sight when you leave the darkness retreat. Now again, we see the famous Trinity symbol. Now in Masonry, that symbols what is called the ream. And what that is, it creates a hole during the construction of a building. But it is a hole that represents a gap in knowledge. And that gap in knowledge needs to be filled. It needs to be filled with wisdom. And that is what you are doing. You are filling the hole with wisdom. Now, John the Baptist himself. Again, I've already mentioned the finger pointing up, which is the index finger, which is Aries, which is the direction of the higher mind. It is the unknown journey, the wisdom unknown. And John the Baptist, again, according to the Johannite, the Knights Templars and the Hermetics, is the true Messiah. But John the Baptist and Christ are two aspects of the same being. John the Baptist is the experience and Christ is the illumination as a result of that experience. So he is pointing up there. Now, in the Bible, you have the hand, which is the biblical David. You have also the pointing finger, which is Jerusalem. You have the 5 forces that leave and the 5 forces that enter from the hand. Now, when you want to combine those energies and those forces, you interlink your fingers, and that then becomes the tree of life of the Kabbalah. Your little fingers represent earth, and your thumbs relate to the ether. So you are making that journey through the 10 emanations from earth to ether. And all of these are mystical teachings. Now, Leonardo used to do a lot around the feminization of the male. So Leonardo wished to feminize Sal, me, in a previous incarnation as his scribe. And when he feminized Sal, it became the most famous painting the world has ever seen. It became the Mona Lisa. So the Mona Lisa is really a feminization of Sal, which was me. Now, again, I shall need a complete episode to go through the secrets of the Mona Lisa. But in essence, there are many depictions. Underneath that bridge, there is the number 72, which relates to the 72 chapters of Masonry. It relates to the 9 original Knights Templars. 7 plus 2 is 9, and so on and so on. The 72 of a chapter of Freemasonry are called the Royal Ark. Now, the bridge is an ark. So then we have the crossover of the hands. When we put our right hand over our left hand, we are indicating that the left hand should not know what the right hand is doing. So in other words, you are able to maintain secrets. And that's what that is indicating. So why does the Mona Lisa have no eyebrows? The eyebrows are a guard, an obstruction, and a protection for the eyes. So if you remove the eyebrows, you are removing the obstruction. You are able to see with clear sight. which again brings me back to the see-through orb of the Da Vinci painting. So these are literally just a few of the teachings of Da Vinci. I've put a key underneath them because a key either conceals or reveals. And on these podcasts that I will be doing, I will be unlocking the secrets that no one else has even thought about. This will be a weekly podcast, as I've said. There will be much interaction for everyone. There will be specific subjects that I will go into increasing depths. But what you will realize soon enough is that although these subjects are seemingly a different subject, such as Egypt, Stonehenge, to UFOs, to these earthbound spirits, to extraterrestrials, you will soon realize that all of them relate to the same thing. All of the mystic teachings, all of the 4,200 recorded religions of the world, all of the ancient monuments, from pyramids to Stonehenges to monoliths, all of them are all speaking about the same thing. The Nazca lines are, crop circles are, they are all speaking about one subject. That is the evolution of man. And you would have heard from Leonardo's foreword of my book, The Movement, that they are waiting. They are waiting in an advanced soul pool, which is situated on what we believe to be the moon. But the moon is not the moon. It is an artificial way station observation post. I have actually located the true moon, and I will discuss where that is and what it is in due course. But thank you very, very much for watching this introductory episode, and I hope to be teaching you in the coming weeks and the coming months. It is my role, it is my purpose, it is my passion, and I will fulfill that role. Thank you very much, and I will speak again very soon.